All right, the All-Star MMA Live is back in action Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. The All-Star MMA, the All-Star Sports app. Go in the descriptions, download the app, make your picks for UFC events. J-Spec has a league going on. He's got prizes every week. You know, he's got spaces going on. Sicko's got the spaces going on. Both of them are running those, and they're both making picks on the app. I'm making picks on the app. I'm going to throw the app on the screen right now for you so you guys can see. My pick was completely wrong. I picked Spivak, KO, third round, and that didn't even come close to happening. And I'm going to explain to you why I thought that was going to happen. But before we get into the main event, we'll go back to these boys. Sicko,
my man,
what'd you think of this whole event? Like, just give us your thoughts on before and after. Like what you thought of it before, and then after watching the fights, did it change?
Well, I'll start with the start time of it. I was actually thrilled. I love to get fights over as early as I can and then have the nighttime still left. So I was probably one of the rare Americans that were like, hell yeah, the start time is perfect. But as far as the event, low expectations, to be honest. I had low expectations for it. There was a lot of guys that were replacing people, making their UFC debuts that I had no idea who these people were coming into the UFC. So the expectations were low. So because the expectations were so low, I didn't walk away feeling disappointed in the card. It was a good card overall. But yeah, I think this was definitely one where it's just all right, let's get through this one because we're waiting on the next. This is just to get us over the hump one. It lacked the fireworks. There was a couple of really good performances, and the guys that deserve the performance bonuses and the people that showed out. There was just some really good fights on there, like there is every week. But yeah, it's going to be hard for me to go back and tell you 50% of the names that were on this card, to be honest.
And J-Spec, when you get a card like this, sometimes people say maybe this fight night card, this UFC fight night card, wasn't for you, wasn't for your geographic area, right? It was for France, it was for the UK fans, it was for the European fans.
Yeah,
but they have to do a better job, right? When you're the number one promotion in the world, you're a world organization for mixed martial arts, right? You should be able to do a good job of explaining to us who these fighters are, even if they are not from our part of the world. You should be able to educate us on these fighters. That's the job of the promotion, right? That's the organization. This is a fight business, fight promotion, right? J-Spec, you're in Vegas, the fight capital of the world. You should know.
I'm with you, man. You're beating the drums that I'm singing over. You laying the beat down and I'm singing over it. I'm going to say that this was in many facets, in so many areas, you can see that France is young to the game. And the UFC maybe treated it as such. We talk about fighters fighting to the level of their opponent. I feel the UFC brought out as much firepower as required to do well where they were at. I don't think they gave a flying two shits if the Americans were really tuning in or not. I don't really think that this card was much more than, I hate to say this, obligation. It was business. It's business as usual. They put on a good fight. Hey, I'm spoiled in this era of my MMA fandom. I got fights all the time. I can be picky and choosy. But the fact is, like Sicko said, the star power, barely any recognizable names, even hard to find. You got three of us and all the people listening, and all of you guys are great fans. Let's be honest. How many people did you have to really look up? Who is this person? Where are they from? I found myself doing that, I think, about 6 times. That's a lot for my average when watching a UFC card. And with that being said, I'm happy for them, for the people of France. They're late getting it through their governmental systems, and I'm glad it worked out for the people of France. I'm glad to see the top of a card in an MMA promotion actually do well in France with French fighters. That's not very often. So good for all that. If the pointed effort by the UFC was to make a nice move into France, then I guess they did a good job. But like you said, promotion-wise, educating us fans, the rest of it, it seemed like a local show. To be honest, it felt very dedicated just for one small group of people. And I'm not disrespecting the Europeans. I know you guys are a big group of people. I love you all. But just saying, it had the big name brand and a small show feel. And that's the way I'll conclude on that.
Yes. I kind of agree with you. A big name brand, small show feel to it. And I think it's mostly due to the name recognition, right? Because we watch Contender Series, we watch, smaller shows from time to time, and we don't know who they are half the time, right? But it seems like in the Contender Series, they do a little bit better job of kind of introducing each fighter to us, right? And if you do have this type of card, I think you should put that effort that you put into Contender Series to educate us about the fighters that are competing. Same thing should happen for these cards for the international audience, right? Maybe not for the local, maybe the local audience needs it too as well. I don't know. But I'm saying, like, for us who has no idea, like, let's go down the top of the card and then I get a guy that fought Volkan Oezdemir. I don't know who this guy is, right? So if I'm watching the card, I should be educated on like who this guy is, what he has done, you know what I mean, to get more familiar with that. I don't think we got any of that on the broadcast. Did we? Like, did we get any more detailed description on stuff, Sicko, that you wanted to know inside your mind?
Not from the UFC, not that I saw on there. I didn't really see much of. The only thing I saw on that dude was just a picture someone took of him on a plane hitting pads. Like, yeah, that's the only thing I was like, all right, he's hitting pads on the plane. That's all I know about him. Cool. Good luck. We'll see what you got when you get in there.
It's like, who's this dickhead?
Bro, imagine that. You just try to sleep. You just dude's cracking pads next to you. Like, bro.
He's like next to you on the plane, like, like,
I'm saying.
It's like, who's, and he's a 205er too, so you know he's massive. And then the guy that's holding the pads, he's bigger than him.
Big as hell.
Like, pop quiz anybody, try punch pads silently.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen, right? So it's, that you're right. That's the one thing that he's gonna be known for from his debut is that picture that went viral of him hitting pads on the plane. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. TJ Dillashaw did it on the what is that thing called? The luggage carrier, right? Back in the day. And I guess it works sometimes. But anyways, let's talk about the fights, man. People watching live, make sure you guys put in your comments, questions, critiques. Ciryl Gane main events again, another Paris card. He's main evented every Paris card, right? There's only been 2. He's been the main event in both, and he's gotten a TKO finish in both fights, and he's doing really well, man. I think they should just continue with this momentum, right? And just have Ciryl Gane fight main events in Paris if they do have it, because it seems like he's drawing in a lot of people, man. Like, he's drawing a lot of people. The other guy, Denis, or what is it, Saint Denis? Man, that guy, he seems like he's the most popular fighter out of all the fighters that we saw on that card, right? Just from watching it on TV and hearing like the chants. Dude, he was getting like GSP style chants, man. Like, he was getting some serious fandom, man. Dude must be really good. He must be the one, right? Because we'll get to that fight. Anyways, let's talk about Ciryl Gane. He goes in there. J-Spec, let's kick it off with you. What'd you think? Was that your expectation? What was your pick? Talk about your pick and then talk about what happened in the fight.
My man John, I'm like you. I had Spivak, and I'm on the wrong side of the river when it comes to this one. I was silly. You guys already know I'm the worst at picking finishes, so I went full send. I went Spivak submission round 1. But I didn't expect that to happen. I did expect Spivak to do fucking something other than what he did, which was be punched a lot, often, frequently, and quickly. What can I say? Ciryl Gane is I would like to compare him to a sports car. When you have a dry day, clear skies, open track, that fucking guy goes. And that's the octagon he had. He had a nice big old octagon. Spivak's recent success has all been in the small apex octagon. So, take that for what it is. But Ciryl was just moving, and he had all the space to do it. The fight was never in any other realm other than what Mr. Gane wanted. And the result all went his way. It was when you fight someone like at their game, at their pace, in their way, you're gonna lose, dude. Like, I don't care who you are, you're gonna lose. And that's exactly what Spivak brought to the table. I'm not really sure what Spivak was doing as a whole. I personally have been pretty high on Spivak recently. His body has gotten better. It feels like everywhere in MMA he's gotten better. And this just shows perhaps that Ciryl Gane might be the most expensive, most famous gatekeeper in the heavyweight division. Because I'm not fully sold on Ciryl Gane being the man up yet. Okay. Well, I've had his run. I've seen him fail. Now he's beating these kind of dudes again. I'm glad to see it. But I'm not fully sold on Gane just yet. Don't tell me title fight. Please, I don't even want to hear John Jones' name or anything like that. The most entertaining, the most intelligent name that got thrown at us, Sickle, during our spaces was the name, and I want everybody to say it with me, the British challenger himself, and I'm blanking his name, that's why I'm stalling, Tom Aspinall. There you go. Yeah, Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane is like the battle for Europe. Let's have it. And those are my final thoughts on this fight.
Oh, that's definitely a main event in the UK or in Paris.
France, yeah, either or.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like whatever one you want. You know what I mean? I think you should make a choice, right? UK or Paris. That should be main event. That should be the next fight. Sure. Ciryl Gane. It's weird, man. When you look at the stats, it's like it doesn't make any sense, dude. Look at this: 110 total strikes landed to 11. How did this fight even get into the second round? You know what I mean? Like 109 significant strikes, 48 to 7 headshots, 39 to 2 body shots, 22 to 2 leg kicks.
That sounds like Ciryl Gane fought somebody in the fucking stands, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, when you look at Spivak's record before this fight, right? He finished Derek Lewis, he finished Sakai, he finished Greg Hardy. All those finishes on the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like he can go in there and implement some kind of like ground game, wrestling, something, right? Like we've seen what happened to Ciryl Gane against John Jones, right? We've seen what happened to Ciryl Gane against Francis Ngannou, right? With the grappling. You'd figure Ciryl Gane would go in there and try to just grapple the shit out of him, or, you know, at least like put in that effort, right? But just, what do you think it was, Sicko? Was it more of him not having the right game plan, or was it more of him just not being able to do it? Like he just couldn't do it. Like he's just too small, maybe.
I think the game plan was probably there. They probably implemented a great game plan. They probably thought, just like all of us did, hey, this guy struggles on the ground. This is where we're good at. This is where we're going to try to get the fight. One thing that was interesting going into the walkout, I know Rob was in the space when I said it. I was like, is he crying? Like, is he crying during his walkout? He looked so emotional. I'm not saying, I don't know if he was or not. To me, it just looked like his eyes were watery. Like he just came out very emotional. And that's not like it's that rare. We've seen this from Charles Oliveira and other guys where they come out, their walkout, and they're just very emotional. But some guys, that's a good thing for, and some guys it's a bad thing for. And Spivak in there, and listen, I don't want to take away anything from Ciryl Gane because he deserves all the flowers he could possibly get for this fight. His performance looked great. He looked like the Ciryl Gane who we all thought, you know, this guy is going to be the next great thing at heavyweight. He looked like that yet again. But for Spivak, he just looked stuck in the mud, man. He just looked like the moment was too big. The lights were too bright. And to give credit to Gane, this is what we have to remember. When he fights Spivak, right, the fights against Derek Lewis, the fights against Greg Hardy, the fights against these guys, those are stationary guys. Those are guys that like to sit down and throw massive bombs. Ciryl Gane is complete opposite fighter of any of those guys. So now we get to see what Spivak looks like when he has to cut guys off, when he has to try to find a way to stop the movement of somebody and then get them up against the cage, be able to start working in those sambo, those judo throws and things of that nature, take him down in different ways, because Ciryl Gane's not going to get, you know, flat-footed and sit down on hooks and then you could shoot on him from there. That's not going to happen. So we got to see another perfect example of MMA math doesn't quite work, right? It's styles make fights. And sometimes when you can't corner somebody off and you can't find the right angle, I mean, this is very similar to the Aljo and Sean fight, right? Oh, why didn't he just shoot? Why doesn't he should have attempted 12 takedown attempts in the first round. It's like, what's hard when you really can't get them to stop going side to side, when every time you're thinking about shooting, they're on one side of you. It becomes a lot more, it's way easier said than done. So I think it's a little bit of both. I do think Spivak did look a little timid. I don't like the fact that he was just shelling up immediately, like not really looking to counter, not really looking to intercept any strikes or throw something back. He was just, every time Gane would start letting go a little combination, he was just shelling up, let him finish, and then we'll try to do something from there. And you can't fight Ciryl Gane like that. He's going to get way ahead in the points, as we saw from the strike totals. But yeah, nothing taken away from Gane, man. He looked the way he does when you give him somebody, that is a little stationary, that can't really do much in the striking department or pose some type of striking threat to him.
Yeah, it was a really, really good performance by Ciryl Gane, a really good comeback performance after that fight against John Jones, right? It was just bad. But yeah, man, we get to see him do his thing, and I think that we're gonna end up seeing Gane hold UFC gold again in the future. He's still kind of young in his career when you really think about it, right? He came to the UFC with only 3 or 4 fights, and he's had like more than 10 in the UFC, and so he's learning on the job, and he's doing quite well. He won the interim title, right? I think in the next couple of years he'll win the title again. It's just John Jones will be gone, right? That's Stipe will be gone. You know what I mean? Like those fights will never happen again, most likely, because those guys they age out or they just retire, and then I see him as the favorite in a lot of fights, man. Aspinall, of course, is a great matchup, but I think that's a toss-up. I'm not gonna just say Aspinall's the favorite. I think it's a toss-up. Let's get to some of these comments. Before we get to those, make sure you guys go in the descriptions, download the AllStar app, make picks on UFC fights. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about our picks, and my pick was completely wrong. I went with Spivak knockout in the 3rd round, and that did not happen. That didn't even make it to the 3rd round. I'm an idiot. Anyways,
I'm glad I got a witness in here. Rob was in the spaces with me. We call out our picks right before the fight happens. I said 2nd round TKO, Ciryl Gane. Here we go.
I didn't hear anything. I wasn't
I hear shit.
All right, so some comments here. We got one from EQ. What's going on? He says Gane versus Aspinall should be next. A lot of people are agreeing with that. Almeida is in the mix with the victor over Blades. That's definitely true. Almeida is, I think he's kind of becoming like that boogie monster in the heavyweight division. Pound for Pound TV. Hi guys, it's Boss. Big ups to J-Spec. You guys loving this channel. We need Aspinall versus Gane next at London.
That's what we're talking about.
People loving that. EQ or Blades could get his rematch versus Aspinall if both of them win. Yeah, I don't think people would want to see that unless it's for a title, and that'll be okay. Paul, man, he says, hey there. What's going on, Paul? It's I don't know. I don't really know. Should Gane and Aspinall fight next? I think I have no problem with that. But we got to see what happens in the other fights, though, because you never know. They might slide Aspinall into a title fight. We have to see what happens with Stipe and
we don't know what's going to happen with Jones, right?
Yeah, Jones.
Like either one of them, this could be a situation where, regardless of whoever wins, the title could be vacant right after.
Like, that's what I'm saying, right?
So that could be a title fight, Aspinall and Gane.
If you're a heavyweight, do you sit back and wait until that fight's over? If you're a top 10 heavyweight, you know what I mean? Like, could that be something?
I think so, yes, because the heavyweight division has the gift of time. It's one of the few divisions you can run it long and you can burn a year and it's okay. And especially with the way the roster is, let's be honest, there's holes. That's why there's a talented young man like Gelton Almeida just smoking his way up the trail. But yeah, and it's more highlighting specifically on Gane himself. We were just talking about it. He's 33, dude. Like, for heavyweight, he's got plenty of time on the clock. And yeah, man, shit. If I was any of those guys, definitely, because let's be honest. I mean, all things honest. Who the hell wants to fight John Jones besides Stipe Miocic, right? Like, I mean, but let's be honest. Like, who wants to fight John Jones? Like, do I have to fight that guy? Do I have to burn? If I'm one of those top 5 fighters, top 10 fighters, you might only get one chance at the title in your career. You want to take your shot against Jones? I don't think so. So, yeah, man, definitely. The heavyweight division has special leniences and stuff, I think. That's
all right. Well, that is kind of true, right? Because the heavyweight division, you could have a longer career, a career later into your life,
30s,
so to say. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, Stipe and Jones, we'll see the results of that. Whatever happens to the winner and the losers, and the Almeida fight versus Blades, that's going to hold a lot of weight as well. But if you think about it, yeah, Sergey's there. Yeah, Pavlovich. Yeah. He's like the uncrowned champ. Yeah. Yeah, man. I think the heavyweight division is pretty damn good right now. People talk the whole Francis ordeal is over. Francis is doing his thing in PFL. So you don't have to think about like, oh, now we got Francis in the mix. No, he's not in the mix. He's not even fighting for them. He's over there in PFL. He's boxing soon. You know what I mean? He's going to have pay-per-views next year, do his thing.
Money.
And then we got new guys coming up. I like it. I love it. Yeah. And we'll see what happens. Spivak, they'll probably toss him to like, a lot of the guys have already fought each other. So it's like, Spivak, where does he go? I don't know, to be honest. But Gane, he's the one. He's the one. We got another comment here. Ringwelski. Hey, man. Big fan of yours. Rock on, bro. Rock on, bro. Rock on. Beavis and Butthead, right? Let's move on to the co-main event, right? Co-main event. I'll put my pick up there. And here we go. I pick Manon Fiorot to win by TKO, KO in the second round. But that didn't happen because Rose is tough as shit. But the thing is with this is that I just think Rose, I don't know, man. I think that the girls are just too big, man. And Fiorot's, and Namajunas is a striker. Fiorot's a striker. I thought there were better matchups to give Rose Namajunas than Manon. I hope I'm saying that name right. But anyways, but Manon, she's kind of like that fighter that's lost in the flyweight division, right? Like she's so good, and she should be in the title talks, but really nobody cares about it. Everybody's talking about other fighters, right? They're talking about Erin Blanchfield, they're talking about Talia Santos, they're talking about everybody else, but they really don't talk about Manon. And I don't know if it's her fault, I don't know if it's the UFC's fault, but she hasn't lost, right, in the UFC, and she just beat Rose Namajunas, right? But what does that do to her really in the division? Because Rose Namajunas is not even ranked. She hasn't. This is her debut. Like, what are they trying to do with Manon Fiorot, right? Like, are they really trying to give her a shot at the title? Or are they just leaving her as like a person that they fill in these European cards with? You know what I mean? And she has a follow. I don't know. It's very confusing to understand what's going on with them. Let's look at the statistics. Now we know after the fight that Rose, actually during the fight, people were talking about the pinky, right? But now we've seen the pictures after the fight. Her pinky looks like, like a blind man
thing hanging off her dear life.
Yeah, it's like the pinky looked like it's going in 15 different directions, right?
Yeah.
But let's take that out the way, because injuries, you can't just say, oh, what if the injury, injuries is part of the fight game, right? Like you fight with injuries, you stop a fight because of injury, like it's part of the game. Manon looked really good, man. Like you could clearly see the power difference.
Yeah.
Right? Impact difference, damage. Yeah. Rose, she did look pretty good. I thought she did look pretty good. It's just that Manon's just bigger, and just the power difference is there, man. I'm surprised that Rose didn't try to kick it more in the fight. Sicko, what'd you think of Rose's debut and Manon. What do you do with her?
For Fiorot, I mean, she looked great. I think this is a great fight for her because she has that issue that you just talked about of being undefeated, being really high level, beating all these girls, but maybe not have the name recognition. Well, how do you get somebody the name recognition? You use somebody else and somebody else's name like Rose and say, hey, if you beat her, people are definitely going to start talking about you more because everyone was really excited in the possibility of Rose jumping a line, beating Fiorot, and then getting a title shot against a Valentina or against an Alexa Grasso, which I think both of those fights would be excellent. And for Rose, I'm very proud, man. I'm very happy that we saw a motivated Rose, a Rose that had to thug it out. We saw Thug Rose in there, and she looked great. I thought she did look really good. Maybe there was some stuff she could have done differently in the fight, but I thought the fight was a little bit closer than the strike total shows. I thought Rose held her own. I thought it was a close fight. You know, I think Fiorot definitely won the fight. I don't know what Jamal Hill was talking about, saying Rose pieced her up all fight long. I don't know. Some favoritism from our boy there. But, yeah, I thought they both looked good. And for Fiorot, you know, I said coming into this fight, after the Blanchfield performance, if we remember, it wasn't your typical, man, Erin Blanchfield is a steamroller and no one could touch her, no one could mess with her. It was a tough fight that Erin Blanchfield had to, let's call it what it is, she had to hold somebody up against the fence in order to win it. So I said, if Fiorot can come out and do what you thought she had the capability of doing, which is TKOing or putting Rose out, finishing Rose Namajunas, I was like, man, she's going to jump the line and get the title shot instead of Erin Blanchfield. Now, to me, it just makes so much sense to have Fiorot and Blanchfield match up for like a true number one contender fight, if you will, because we don't know what's going to happen with the Grasso and Shevchenko fight. Let's say it's a close fight, Shevchenko wins. How do you not have a trilogy there? You know what I mean? Like, if it's another really tight fight that goes either way, and if Grasso does win, then you still need a true number one contender for that belt. So I think that should be the next matchup is Fiorot and Blanchfield. And that matchup really excites me, man, because you could look at both ladies and say they both have very clear advantages in one area. And it's just who's going to get it to that spot. How is that fight going to actually play out? It really intrigues me.
Yeah, it definitely intrigues me as well. Before we get to J Spec and his thoughts on the fight, let's go to FC. FC is saying it seems the female flyweight division is so hot and competitive. Alexa, Val, Erin, Talia, Manon, Rose, and eventually Weili and Tatiana will enrich the mix. Yeah, I think the division is just getting started. But let's talk about the fight. Manon, Rose Namajunas, J Spec. What'd you think?
My man,
Pat Barry, that connection. What'd you think?
I think Pat Barry's maybe he should be nominated for Coach of the Year. I've never seen anybody get the maximum out of their athletes like Pat Barry does. No, I'm throwing, that's all jokes. For real though, couple of stuff. One, congratulations, Miss Fiorot. You know, you got it done in France. That's what's up. And big deal. Second, like you guys said, you guys already nailed it. I just want to tell you I'm behind you and I'm supporting that statement. Is what you guys said. She's already undefeated. She's already doing good. For some reason or another, the X factor is not upon her. The people are not gravitating to Miss Fiorot. So one of the ways fight promoters know how to do that is beat a star. Beat someone people like, and the rub happens. And you know what? To beat Namajunas in this weight class, what does it do? I don't know. But Rose is one of those widely recognized names. I mean, just that part of it, all different levels of fans of the sport, men and women all over, know Thug Rose. So this is a massive personal boost to your resume for Fiorot, in my opinion. I think this is kind of a big deal. Unfortunately, not put on a card or a time slot where everyone, I think, really got what this could have done for Fiorot in her career, perhaps. But credible win, solid win nonetheless. And then I'm going to talk about Rose in just a second, but I want to talk about to me, the telling statistic when you're looking at those great statistics you had shared up at there, John. Total strikes, just looking at that category. Output, 248 strikes attempted by Miss Fiorot, 153 by Thug. So, yeah, the pinky, dude, that shit's on Mars. I mean, I'm gonna give her, you got to give her a little bit for that. But I bet Alex Caceres and Dan Hooker are somewhere saying, "Who gives a fuck? I broke my whole arm. You want to talk about a pinky, right? It is what it is." But that 100 strikes, dude, like we could be talking about any fight on the planet, and you can interchange any names you want. But when you have 100 more strikes thrown in a 3-round affair, dude, it's overwhelmingly gonna favor that person. That's a tremendous amount of output that you just cannot ignore. Mm-hmm. And with all those things being said, good job. And my admonishment, though, my what the hell's going on here? What the hell's going on with Thug Rose? I think Miss Namajunas and Mr. Derek Lewis are perfect examples of the importance and the fragility of performance psyche, sports psychology. These two people are super talented and decimate people in front of them when they're here all the way. And when they're not, they're not. And I just find it very fascinating in the case of Miss Namajunas. So good luck, Thug Rose, in all your future fights. We're going to be watching.
Is that how you're supposed to say it? Namajunas?
That's how I say it.
I say Namajunas. I don't know.
Namajunas.
Potato, potato. You know what I mean?
Nobody knows. Namajunas. Hey, she's a former champion. That's all we know, right?
Man, I wish we could just make the fights with those, 6 girls. Like if we just didn't have to think about like title and the belt, because when you look at the matchups between the 6 girls, like they match up so perfectly with a very specific other one. Like, all right, imagine Fiorot and Santos. Imagine if they fought each other, their styles, their length, the way they strike. And then imagine Blanchfield with Val. And then imagine Namajunas and Grasso and how that fight would look. Like those are perfect stylistic matchups where none of those fights would be boring. They would all be insane. Like they fit, like they would all be great fights. But, that's just if I was playing matchmaker and not, looking at who's next for the belt.
My man, are you suggesting a Grand Prix?
Bro, but like with those specific matchups though, like those, because some of them will get like, okay, like Blanchfield Santos, right? Santos just couldn't get Blanchfield off of her against the fence. Blanchfield wanted no piece of Santos like on the feet the first couple of rounds. So it turned into a fight where we're like, damn, we were kind of hoping for the fireworks. You get Blanchfield and Val is gonna be fireworks. You get Santos and Fiorot, it would be fireworks. Like there would be no boring, oh man, these styles don't really mix together. Like you wouldn't have to worry about that. Like they all fit so perfectly stylistically, but only with one other person. It's crazy.
I'm just glad we're here in the year 2023 and I hear on a regular basis stuff that you just said, Sicko. People talking and clamoring for women's MMA and specific matchups all across the weight classes. So it's awesome. Hell yeah. There
you go. And we'll get to this comment. I think he's responding to J-Spec's comment. I don't know. Fighting 3 rounds with a broken finger like that, you must have mental toughness.
Toughness for sure. But like talking about sports psychology, about getting the win. Like there's different stuff. I'm not questioning Mrs. Rose's toughness. She's way tougher than me. Toughness, right? I would have, bro, that instant that finger was off, I would have been like, fight's over, dude. I'm done. I'm out of here. Done. Retire. Stop.
All right. There you go. Well, to be honest with you, like in my eyes, I think Manon should be fighting like somebody for a #1 contender, right? Because Manon's number 3. She defended her spot against an unranked fighter, pretty much doing a favor for the UFC, right? Giving Rose the opportunity. Rose had everything to win, nothing to lose type thing. So Manon, she should be fighting Erin Blanchfield. She should be fighting somebody that's considered a title contender, right? That is in the media. The reason why I think a lot of the reason why most people don't know Manon, because she's not in the media as much. Erin's been out there saying like, I'll fight her, I'll do that. She's gone through the whole situation of like, oh, I want to fight Valentina because she's unbeatable, blah, blah, going through that. And then watching Valentina lose and then having to wait and fighting someone else. You know what I mean? Like if Valentina would have won, Aaron would have already fought Valentina, I think, or would have been fighting her very soon.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah, eventually, right? So, it's interesting, man. That division. Pound for pound TV. I see your comment. You know, we talked about the heavyweight division. We'll probably go back to that. I'll bring it up a little bit later. But he says, FC says, I totally agree with all of these great matchups that could be done. So interesting, but they're not going to do that because they don't like those things. UFC, they don't want tournaments. They don't want none of that stuff. They only want road to UFC tournaments. That's the only tournaments that they want, right? All right, let's move along to my main man. My main man.
So bad,
what is it? Benoit Saint Denis. The man is on a mission. He's on a tear. Goes in there. Look at it. I got a perfect 15 points. I picked Saint Denis. TKO, second round. That's what he did.
Let's
right?
go.
That's whenever you get one of those 15 pointers.
You take a deep
Like
breath.
you're just like, yeah, I wish I was a legit gambler. Every time you hit 1 out of 30 picks. But anyways, this man, he goes in there against Thiago Moises, who's a guy that was a top 15 fighter, right? He's still very, 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 very legit. Trains at American Top Team. A very good opponent, a very good test for Saint Denis. And Saint Denis goes in there and passes with flying colors. Yes, everything was in his favor. He's fighting in Paris. He's in front of the home crowd, la, 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 blah, blah. But once those doors close, man, it don't matter. It don't matter. So, Sicko, did this fight matter to you? Was it interesting to you? Does Saint
mattered a lot.
BSD, does he have a future in this division?
He does, and I'm glad the hype is back on him. Remember, he lost that hype. Coming into the UFC, he had a lot of hype coming in, and everyone was really excited and really interested in his debut. And it didn't go the way a lot of people thought. He was the favorite. He lost by decision in his UFC debut, and then it seemed like people were out on him. It seemed like, that's it. You got to remember, he just fought in July against one of the Bonfim brothers. So he just fought in July against Bonfim when Bonfim was the one that everyone was pushing down. Bonfim's supposed to be the guy that everyone's excited for. And Saint Denis ran through him. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a first-round sub in that fight. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, maybe we're back on the Saint Denis hype train. Maybe that first one was just a little hiccup, maybe some nerves, the UFC debut. Maybe it was just a tough matchup for him. And now all of a sudden he comes out here and does this to Thiago Moises, who's, say what you want, man. He's not a scrub. Is he a challenger, title challenger? Is he a top 10 guy? No, but we all recognize that Thiago Moises is pretty well-rounded fighter, and he could do some things himself. So for Saint Denis to come out here and blow through him like that, yeah, I'm right back on it. We're right back on it, and I hope he gets that momentum that people had for him before he got into the UFC. I hope that hype is back for Saint Denis, because if you guys know me, I love me a good hype train, baby. I love it.
There you go. And J-Spec, this fight got fight of the night. Did you think it was a fight of the night?
Given the limited options, I could see him getting a performance bonus. Let's just be honest. We didn't have like a whole big pile of awesome things to choose from. And Mr. Saint Denis, like, he delivered. He had the internet all on his back. He had motherfucking all of France on his back, let's be honest. And on a personal note, he was the only French fighter that I had any faith in or any like real give a shit and or faith in it. I'll just say it like that. So, I really, really thought he was going to do well here. I expected him to. He did. This is a great example, and Sick was giving the fight history of it, of hot, of being it. You're only, and you're only as good as your last one. You take all those cliches together. Look at that popularity shift from Terrence McKee to Bonfim, then to Saint Denis. It's literally just one big snowball of fandom that has been passed from one to the other. And man, Mr. Saint Denis is just killing it. He matched his moment in time, and a lot of fighters don't even get this moment. They never get, hey, be in your country hometown with a big all of this stuff. Kind of fairly early in your UFC tenure, a few fights in, and just nailed it, dude. He nailed it. Like, great job, dude. Like, what's next for him? I guess is the big question, right? I think people are probably gonna think of that. For me, I'm not in any rush. Like, let's not like throw him to the wolves. I want to see him keep subbing or knocking people out or whatever. It's like, let's get this guy to maximum fandom and appreciation. I guess that's my call, and I'm hoping for that for him. On the other side, Mr. Moises came up short, and there's not much to say. There's no admonishment. There's no there's nothing in there that I thought was weak. He's a good fighter, like you guys said. This is just one of those fights where it's all about one person, and this fight was all about Mr. Benoit Saint Denis and his. I guess, is it a come out party? I guess it's kind of a come out party, right? Like, if it's in your nation's hometown, you're the third from the top. I think it's about as good of a come out party as
it can't be a come out party when everybody knows who you are already.
Okay, but not necessarily a come out party. But what's the word I'm looking for then? Like, you match his moment.
It was a showcase. It was a
showcase. Yeah, showcase.
Thank you.
There was a come out party, a coming out party for somebody on this card, though.
Oh, we get that.
For sure.
But yeah, man, just happy all the way around, and looking forward. I'm actually looking for. I'll say this. I'm going to say this for the first time in all of my years of being an MMA fan. I am looking forward to having my first French fighter that I'm actually a fan of in MMA. Shout out Jerome LeBanner in kickboxing. Anyways, moving on.
All right, so with this matchup, with Saint Denis, right, and his momentum, and EQ is saying that there's very interesting potential matches, and he's completely right. There are interesting, right? Thiago Moises, he's not top 15. But he was on the verge of the top 15, right? He was a top 15 fighter in the past, and Saint Denis goes in there and takes care of business. Does what he needs to do, or what he's expected to do for himself. You know what I mean? And gets a bonus and all of that good stuff. So now, what do you do with him? Do you put him against a top 15 guy? Like coming off a loss? Is that what you do? And you put him in. I don't know. Most likely he's not going to fight in Paris anytime soon again. So you have a choice, right? So when you look at the top, like 20, 25, like around there, you got some good matchups, right? You got some good matchups for him. Like if Drew Dober wasn't booked to fight, like that would be a good matchup. Him versus Drew Dober, right? Another good matchup would be him versus Bobby Green, who is also in that position, like at the verge of the top 15. Even like, the thing is, like, if you have a win or a couple wins, I don't want to put you against a guy that's not in the rankings if you're already in the rankings, right? So if you're like Matt Frivola, who's on a win streak and he's ranked, it sucks to make him fight somebody that's outside of the rankings to defend this position. He should probably fight somebody that's ahead of him, that's coming off a loss or two, to do the right thing with the rankings, right? So with Saint Denis, you got Joel Alvarez, you got Bobby King, you got Damir Ismagulov, Diego Ferreira, you got Brad Riddell, you got Paddy Pimblett, you got like around that area. You got Guram.
Kill him.
Paddy Pimblett.
Pimblett ain't fighting none of those guys, man.
Nah,
Paddy Pimblett gonna fight me when he comes back. Be there with him.
He fighting the Subway sandwich rappers. That's what he's fighting. He's fighting the rappers.
That's a fact.
He's fighting the rappers, those rappers. Anyways, so everybody's kind of like in agreement. Saint Denis, he's a guy to watch. Like from this card,
100%.
You know what I mean? You had Ciryl Gane. We already know about him. We already kind of know about Manon, but BSD. That doesn't sound like BSD.
I don't know, bro. It sounds like something freaky.
Yeah. It sounds like some freaky. Like,
so freaky.
It sounds like some.
Yeah, let's talk to your girl about that. Don't tell
me
that.
BSD on the card. Let's get BSD on the card.
I don't even want
BSD coming up.
Hey, dude, you into BSD?
Yeah,
exactly. Right?
Not
you
me.
a fan of BSD?
Not with you.
Just last night. Only yesterday.
Yeah. So we're in agreement, man. BSD, Fiorot, Ciryl Gane. Those are the ones that kind of stood out on this card. Another one, and I'm really happy to see this. is Volkan Oezdemir getting a victory, man. We haven't seen him win. I don't remember the last time he won a fight, man. I gotta check. Do you guys? When's the last time?
Bear Jew.
Really? How long ago was that?
2022. It's sandwiched between some losses. That's why it's hard to remember.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I don't remember that fight.
It was sandwiched between losses. It's easy to forget that.
He gave Paul Craig.
Didn't he just beat him down on the ground?
He just manned him.
It got to a point where Paul Craig was like pulling guard as he does, and then he was just beating the shit out of him down there. Right.
But it was good to see Volkan, get the win. Let's put this on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because got.
Sorry.
What's up?
I was gonna say, in fairness to Oezdemir, dude, look at those people. They, Krylov, totally in his moment. Ankalaev, legit as shit. Prohaska, former champ. Like, unfortunately, he's just been getting those dudes
fed to the wolves. He's been fed to the wolves, bro.
So definitely, if you see him get the dub.
Just look at Ozdemir's record though since he joined the UFC. Look down here, like
Cormier.
I think the first fight was in 2017. OSP, and he beat Serkinov and then Manoa, and then he fought for the title against DC. Like he fought for the title in 4 fights, and then he started going through the ringer, right? Cormier, Smith. That's when Smith was like the 2018 Smith, different. 2019 Reyes, different, right? Those different versions of those fighters.
All those guys are pre-Jones.
Exactly, and then he beat Latifi and then Rakic. Then he got knocked out by Prohaska. That was Prohaska's debut. UFC debut.
We all said, why is this dude getting heels to me?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
My fault. And then he lost to Ankalaev, and then he beat Craig, and then Krylov, and then he gets the victory here. So it's good to see him back in the winning column. You know what I mean? He's had a roller coaster UFC career, dude. Like, he was thrown to the wolves, basically. But it's good to see him fight. The other guy, Gustav, we spoke about it earlier about how we didn't really know much about him except for the picture of him hitting mitts on the airplane. And I guess the worst base for MMA is mitt work on an airplane.
Airplane.
But that, it is what it is, right? So what do you do with Oezdemir, right? What do you do with Oezdemir? So I'm gonna give you guys some options.
Feed him.
And you guys give me the best argument on why Oezdemir should fight this option, right? So let's go to let's switch it back up right here.
I love mock trial.
All right, here we go. So I got the rankings up here with like all the rankings, like every fighter in the world basically that are light heavyweight, and Oezdemir he's ranked number 10 on this one. He's ranked number 10 in the world on this one. Nice. Who should he fight next? I say he should fight Khalil Roundtree next. I think that is a fire ass matchup right there. And
I like it.
It would put Oezdemir back into some talks, right? Of entering that. He still had it. He still got it, man. He could go out there and be fearless and take out someone that is just a wild man, like Khalil Roundtree, right? The guy that just has like heavyweight power in a light heavyweight body, right? Like the dude is just he's run and gun, right? Like he come in and he's gonna throw things at you, and if you can't handle it, he's gonna take you out, right? It's just that's how it works, And I think Oezdemir, that would be an exciting matchup for the fans. For Oezdemir, it's a risk, but for the fans, I think it's good. But I'll ask you guys. Okay, so the first one to J-Spec is Dustin Jacoby or Alonzo Menefield. Who would you choose?
If I was Oezdemir, I would go with Menefield because I feel like Jacoby moves better. He's a little more light on the feet, and I feel like Oezdemir is a little slower. So I think the Menefield fight would be more beneficial to him. And I'm coming from the point of view that I'm trying to pick the best fight for Volkan to win. So yeah, I'd probably go with option 2, not Mr. Jacoby, because I think the footwork difference will be a problem.
All right. Now, Sicko, Dominic Reyes rematch? Does that make
If
any
I'm
sense?
Oezdemir, if I'm Oezdemir, it makes all the sense to me. After what I've seen from Dominic Reyes over the last few fights, yes, please let me get either one of those rematches, right? Him or Anthony Lionheart Smith. From what I've seen from them recently, I would love to get those back 100%. But one interesting, he might end up getting the guy he was supposed to fight in this fight. You know, he wasn't supposed to fight the airplane guy. He was supposed to fight Azamat, or however you say his name, undefeated fighter. He had just beaten Jacoby. That was supposed to be the matchup, and it didn't happen. You know, that fight was canceled. In comes this guy that looks like Anthony Smith and Marvin Vettori, had a baby, and gets the layup. You know, this was an alley-oop, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to take anything away from Oezdemir. This is an alley-oop. After I looked at those odds, I'm like, yo, we really did Oezdemir dirty like that. You really gave him that close of odds to some dude who's making his debut in the UFC, who we don't have any idea about, against Oezdemir, who, like you said, yeah, he has a lot of losses, but to who? That means he's fought the best. That means you're not going to surprise him with anything, man. There's not going to be anything where he's just like, I've never seen anything like this, unless it's like a Yuri or somebody that legitimately you really haven't seen anything like. But this dude wasn't it. It was an alley-oop. Just get him right back in there with the guy who he was supposed to fight. I think he's ranked 12, if I'm not mistaken. Azamat is. So perfect. It's right there. That fight was already supposed to happen. You know, all that. You just scratch this off as, hey, you got yourself a dub. You got yourself your payday. You got a win under your belt, and now you can go in with a little more confidence and a little more, you know, hopefully a little more preparation time, because you were already preparing for this dude anyway. Just run that one again. Just, you know, keep it the way it was supposed to be.
I just feel like a lot of the fighters that are ranked in light heavyweight, the young guys that are coming up right now, they're probably just like drooling. You know, they're probably just like, because the guys are like, a lot of the guys have a lot of fights, have taken a lot of damage, kind of old for the division, right? Mm-hmm. And looks like, you know, in their recent performances, they're kind of on the back end of their career. If you're a young guy coming up, let's say you're Azamat, you're like, you're looking at these matchups like, because Azamat has the skill set to beat a lot of these guys too, right? He's super fast, has crazy power, and can do everything, right? He can strike, he can wrestle. You know what I mean? His name is Azamat, right? Like,
he better wrestle. If he loses his name.
If your name is Azamat,
change his
like,
name.
Your back should never touch the mat, right? Your name is Azamat, right? Like, come on, right? But anyways, yeah, man, it's if you're a young guy like that, like even a guy like Dustin Jacoby, right? Like, he's not a young guy, but he's like, he seems like he's hitting like a second prime of his life right now and performing really well. He has some good matchups. Menafield, who's coached by Pat Barry, you know already what's going on over there. Kennedy, right? Kennedy's out there floating around, you know what I mean? Like the Black Jag as well. He's fighting next week.
I have a dope idea. Alonzo Menafield, Rose Namajunas documentary with Pat Barry, and it's called Groomed to be a Champion.
Give me where do I put information?
That's perfect. Who doesn't?
Can you take my debit card right now, dude?
You get to see a day in the life of Pat Barry, and the title is Groomed to be a Champion? Bro, give it to me.
Oh, dude, rough stuff.
Yeah, it is rough stuff, man. You guys are too much. But yes, Pat Barry.
We're too much.
We know Pat Barry. We know what's up with Pat Barry. Anyways, let's move on to the next fight. Next fight had some controversy, right? A little bit of controversy in next fight between William Gomez. It's definitely not Gomez, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, Gomez.
yeah.
I think it's Gomez.
Gomez. William Gomez, related to the Japanese fighter. He defeated Yanis Hermari.
These names.
Body kick in the third round. Okay, now there's some controversy, right? J-Spec, tell us what happened.
Well, the old dick kick. got in the mix. But okay, so they're going back and forth, and there was a foul landed, and then it got confusing. And I'll be honest, it was confusing for me. I'm pretty sure it was confusing for Sicko. There was a solid couple minutes we didn't know what the hell was going on. It looked like a standard shot to the groin, kick to the groin. You could clearly see it. It hit, moved all, it was there. It was a foul. Like, it's not hard. It's not, I don't know. It wasn't that tricky to me. What got tricky and got controversial, as John alluded to just a second ago, was the response by Mr. Yanis. I'm not even going to try to get Kamori. He didn't reply to the referee, as the referee didn't think it was a foul. And you know what? It is what it is, right? Like, this is one sport where you have an overlord. It's named the ref. The ref is there, and you can be the baddest man on the planet, but whatever that ref says is the absolute law, and you have to follow that person's commands explicitly and immediately. And the ref asked him, and I'm paraphrasing basically, multiple times, like, hey, like, let's go, let's fight, it's good, let's go. And sure, the ref was wrong. It did hit the groin. Unfortunate. But he's telling the fighter to fight, and the fighter, who's, I don't think, was damaged enough to not be fighting, instead of just adhering to the command, finding a way, figuring it out, running around the octagon if you have to, he chose to get into a verbal with the ref and didn't respond to the command. The fighter the rest telling you, fight, dude, fight, come on, fight, and you're not going to fight. He has no choice really but to call it a forfeit and disqualify you right there on the spot. It was weird. It was awkward. And this goes right back to when we were opening the show, and I was talking about my admonishment and things that the French Athletic Commission can learn and grow from. This is it. And I think this is also a specific time, and I like to highlight it, where all of MMA, all across everywhere, dude, the review system, the automatic replay system that Nevada uses for foul ending sequences of a fight. I think I phrased that correctly. Excuse me if my verbiage wasn't dead on, but you know what I'm saying. If the rest of the world just does a system that's already in place in Nevada, where you watch most of your fights anyways, this isn't a problem. The ref doesn't have to defend himself for being wrong on a call. The fighter doesn't have to try to argue about his balls, and we don't have an awkward ending to a fight. And I think that this is just another example of MMA. We got to evolve. We got to push forward. The rules have to be clear, and they have to be the same everywhere. And that's my final thoughts on this fight.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Sicko.
No, I agree with Rob. The fact that fight had to be called off, and that we can't just go back and review it. The fact that there's somebody there to say, hey, no, that was low. Give him his 5 minutes. Let's take some time. That fight should have kept going, man. We shouldn't have had to call that fight off early. That fight, we shouldn't have to worry about the blunder from one ref, and we have another one on the side. We have the luxury of having a replay. Like, I agree, that needs to be implemented. As far as the foul goes, like, I'm assuming this is going to get turned into a no contest. If I would, if I would be a betting man and have to bet what's going to happen with the result, I would assume, because I don't know if I've seen too many people say that it was clean. It did look to be a little bit low. So the fight to get stopped like that, and this is good for homeboy. I don't want to butcher his name. The guy that gets hit low. It's a good example for other fighters, man. Like, dude, whatever happens if the ref keeps going. I mean, he's honestly lucky that Gomi was so confused, right? Like, let's just imagine the ref saying go, and Gomi's not confused, and he's not trying to get clarification himself, and he's just ready to go, and head kicks him while the ref's saying go, and this dude's holding on to his crotch and gets head kicked. You know what I mean? Like, anything bad could happen. If the ref says go, you're in danger. Like, you can get hurt. So if he says go, at least protect yourself. Don't get yourself hurt because you're assuming the ref is going to do something. Don't let your reactions, dictate the fight. And it was kind of weird, right? As soon as he waved it off, then it kind of seemed like he was fine. Where he was in real bad pain before he called off the fight, and as soon as he waved off the fight, he's like, "No, wait, I'm good. Like, what happened? What's going on?" So I don't know, man. It's a weird fight. I wish it didn't end like that. It shouldn't. To Rob's point, with the luxuries we have now, it shouldn't end like that. And hopefully it's something that that we'll see and get corrected in the future.
Agree completely, man. They gotta fix rules. They gotta review things. You know what I mean? The commissions. I don't even know if they have a commission in France. They most likely do because they had MMA banned, right? So they had MMA banned. They must have some commission to ban it out there. But yeah. So that's the only thing you could really say. I think the guy Gomes was winning. Gomes was winning the fight from what I remember. I heard, but it doesn't matter, man. That at the end of the day, that's gonna finish as a TKO finish for him. And he continues his winning streak, right? Gomi, what is he? He's 13-2. I think he's undefeated in the UFC. Am I correct?
Is he?
Yeah, he's 3-0 in the UFC.
Yeah, he beat Fire Marshal Francis Marshall.
Yeah,
yeah.
He missed weight on that one too.
The best.
Yeah, way to do it, baby.
He missed weight barely, but he missed weight. But he's 3 wins in a row, man. That's his first finish. Maybe he's talented. We just don't know because the UFC doesn't do a good job of telling us who the hell he is. It's just like they just let him fight. And anyways, some interesting names also in on the prelims. Before we go into what we normally do is talk about who sticks out most in the prelims. Make sure you guys go in the descriptions and download the AllStar app. I'll put the app on the screen right now. This is what it kind of looks like. This is from last week, UFC Fight Night Paris. I ended up earning 175 XPs, which is points from my picks. So you get, some of them you get 5 points, some of them 10, some of 15. So if you hit all 3, you get 30, which is kind of like a bonus amount. But if you look at mine, I hit 30 on 1, 2, 3, 4 fights. I hit 30, which means I picked it correctly, which is not that bad to be honest.
That'd be a hell of a parlay.
Yeah.
That'd be big money if that was a parlay.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you guys, if you want to get involved, join JSpecs League. You guys could win prizes such as BJ Penn autograph, picture, or a red panty night from Conor McGregor. What's that one?
Me taking down Khabib.
No, this is Mr. Glover Teixeira taking down Jan Blachowicz with
Just put it a little bit higher, a little bit higher.
A little higher, so I can't see
right
it.
there, right there.
There you go.
There you go. So
this is the prize coming up this week for Adesanya versus Strickland. So get in the app, make your picks, join us, be the best picker of that fight. You're gonna win this.
Nice.
There you go. Well, we'll stick with JSpec, man. What'd you think of the prelims? Anybody stick out to you, or anything interesting happened to you? Maybe someone lost that you didn't expect to lose. Anything?
I believe there was one. I believe it was Sickle. Help me out if I say it wrong. I think it was the Nora Cornoli fight that the judging we disagreed with. Was that?
That's
the one. That was one.
Yeah.
My memory was failing me there. Yeah. So in a non-positive way, one that stuck out in my head was Nora Cornoli versus Jocelyn Edwards. I understand if you look at the stats, how if you didn't watch the fight, you could look at the stats and go, oh, I could see how that girl won the decision. But remember, folks, this is a 15-minute bout. And if you look under Miss Edwards' control time, 8 minutes, 42 seconds. I know that's not the only measurement of fighting, but let's just come on. That's more than half the time she had control of you. That's weird. Given the other circumstances of the fight, if you're watching it, it looked very clear as day that the first round and second round went to Ms. Edwards. The third round could have been Miss Cannoli. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm trying my best there. And so with that being said, that one hurt me a little bit personally because I had picked the other way. But if you picked the other way, good for you. You got lucky. It was not just the result was weird, but the scoring as a whole
was weird as shit.
And Sickle has more.
7 is weird.
That's the Paris Commission.
The second round to me was a swing round. Like, however you saw the second round going, all right. Me personally, I thought Edwards kind of sided her out in the second round. That's why I would have given the fight to Edwards. But the second round was close. The first round was not up for debate, man. Jocelyn Edwards won the first round. It just wasn't up for debate. I mean, 8 minutes of that, about 4 of them came in the first round. Like, I don't understand how in any way Cornoli wins the first round. That just, to me, I was like, oh, Jocelyn Edwards had no chance. no chance to win the decision. She had to finish her in order to win this fight.
And the fact that multiple judges had it that way was blistering my brain. And then everybody knows, posted on the internet, I was having internet problems the first couple starts of the fight. Vegas was having flash floods. Anyway, not the point. Point being was I was late to this, but I caught up with it later. And I'm kind of a fan. You guys know, Farid Basharat getting that submission victory nice and early. Good to see the Basharats doing well. I'm early. I bought early tickets to that hype train, so I'm on it. I'm riding it. Happy to be there. And those are the two things that stuck out from my prelims.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up this fight, is because Jocelyn Edwards, right? She was on a 3-fight win streak before this, and she missed weight on two of those bouts, and she won controversial decisions on all 3 of those fights.
They had it out for
so it's kind of like you get. It's yin and yang, right? Like,
right.
It works for you for a while, and then eventually it works against you, right? So if you thought Jocelyn Edwards won this fight, it's just payback for the last 3, I guess, for her to lose this one. Because, snapping a 3-fight win streak sucks, dude. Like, especially in the UFC, because that gives you a lot of power in negotiations. There's all kinds of stuff that happens, right? But, yeah, Jocelyn Edwards. Good luck to her in her endeavors. What about you, Sicko? What'd you see in the prelims that you liked?
I think this fight actually opened up the main card, but we didn't talk about him. Was Morgan? How do you say his last name? Charrier? Whatever. XXX Tentacion. That's who it was. I am all over that hype train, man. He looked incredible. That boy was sharp as hell. His boxing, his striking, his movement all looked incredible. I mean, 26 total strikes. It says 26 were significant. I agree. Everything that boy threw was significant. And he pieced him up, man. Bad. That body kick was, oh my goodness, just brutalizing his body. And it was a teep kick, I believe. A front kick right to the body, had him bent over and hunched down. That ref should have stopped it there. He didn't. He took another roundhouse right to the same spot. One of the best body finishes I've seen in a while. This dude is definitely on my radar, man. That was incredible. Incredible performance. Incredible fight from him. Really excited to see him in his next fight. When you look at his record, you probably be like, man, I don't know why this dude is a minus 385. I don't know. Maybe, those losses kind of happened earlier in his career. Maybe he's hit a turn or something, but he looked sharp as hell. And yeah, he was almost a minus 400 for a reason. That dude was a problem.
Yeah, he's a former Cage Warriors champion, right?
Oh,
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he's a former Cage Warriors champion. He's on a little winning streak. But yeah, he looks solid, man. Very explosive.
I'll jump on there and shout out Mr. Carrier's hair. He had a nice. It wasn't half. He didn't have half his head. It was like 1/3, dyed. It was very. I just like everything he was doing. Like Sicko said, he did it on every level. So yeah, good call, Sicko.
There you go.
You look good.
All right. So for me, when I look back on that card, like anything that stuck out, and it's not even a win. It's this guy.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys know this guy. What's his name? Colin. I don't know his name.
Loughran.
Colin Loughran. Yeah, Colin Loughran. A guy that, if you were just online, you see a lot of clips of him, just being very confident, very brash. You know what I mean? Like just that's what he is. You know what I mean? That's his attitude, and he was undefeated too as well coming into this, and he got that humble pie, man. And I'm going to be very interested to see how he reacts to getting the humble pie in his next fight. Leading up to it, during it, after it, all that good stuff. But, man, congratulations to him, man, for getting signed. Congratulations to Lapidus for getting signed. Taylor Lapidus, was that his first fight in the UFC?
I think there was 2 guys that had stints in the UFC earlier in their careers on this card, and I got him mixed up because even one of them,
this was his UFC debut. It looks like because D. Pena, I don't know who the hell that is. Wilson Hayes, maybe Nathan Maness, but that looks like it was that's like 2019. I don't think that was UFC yet, but anyways, this guy, right? So I'm going to be interested to see how Loughran reacts and comes back from this loss, debut loss, a lot of hype. There was some hype around him as well, you know. So
I want to jump on what you said earlier, John, and just highlighting what you said is absolutely correct. Like Mr. Lapilus, he's now 4-1 in the UFC. Like he had a run in the UFC in 2015-ish area of time. Like, why didn't the UFC do a better job of being like, hey, look, a returning son to our fold? You know, like he wasn't a loser.
Yeah.
It's not like he got like smoked out of the UFC. Like you had a very solid winning record. There should have been
I wonder
more.
what happened.
Somebody don't like somebody. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, that means
Yeah,
he
he
was
left.
3-1 when he left.
Yeah.
yeah, he was off a lot, off a win.
Damn.
I've
Maybe
seen,
maybe they were.
I want that
Maybe
story.
they weren't paying him enough.
yeah. I mean, we've seen it.
That'd be interesting.
But now
that'd be a reason
he's
why
back.
they left that off the broadcast.
Yeah. And yeah, man, he's doing his thing now, man. Like looks like he's much better. He won the Aries bantamweight title before he got signed again.
Yeah.
So we will see. We will see what happens with Lapicus, right? But yeah, I want to see how Lochran comes back from this. Anyways, let's jump to next week's pay-per-view, right? Every pay-per-view we talk about a little bit before the pay-per-view happens. Here we go. Let's look at the main event. We'll look at some of these fights and make some picks. All right, so let's put this on the screen. Give us your picks if you're listening live. If you are listening to the repeat, make sure you drop a comment on your predictions and what you think of the show and what you think of us and all that good stuff. We're open to anything. You know what I mean? We're open to suggestions. So next week, UFC 293 in Sydney. Quick turnaround for Israel. Is it a quick turnaround? No. That kind of like infiltrated my mind because we're always talking about Dricus and Robert Whitaker turning around and quick turnaround, but actually it's not a quick turnaround for Israel at all. But anyways, Dricus couldn't make it. He was injured. Something, right? And then they throw in Sean Strickland, right? I don't want to get into all the behind the scenes stuff, but Sean Strickland slides in. Now he's doing this stupid campaign thing about, I don't know, man. I don't know who's giving him advice on like how to promote himself. Look like nobody because he's clearly it looks like he's doing everything on his own. And some of the stuff is just Sean Strickland's funny sometimes, but he's kind of like Colby to me. He's funny sometimes, but most of the time it just sounds like he's just blabbing just to kind of get a soundbite or a little clip made of him on Instagram, right? And then people try to make that a viral thing. That's what he's trying to, I see that a lot. This fight coming up, Israel Adesanya is a minus 660, Sean Strickland plus 500. The biggest question is, will Sean Strickland... No, there's two questions. Does Sean Strickland have the grappling to defeat Israel Adesanya? And number two is, will he implement that grappling to defeat Israel Adesanya? And number three is Sean Strickland mentally there for this fight? Those are the three questions, right? What do you guys think of this fight? And we'll start with you, Sticko. What do you think of this fight? And then give your prediction.
I think the odds on this fight are absolutely insane. He should not be a minus 660. He should be minus 1,000. Adesanya is going to piece this man up. I just don't like stylistically, man. The things that Sean Strickland doesn't do well, the things that Sean Strickland, the openings that Sean Strickland leaves are perfect for a 6'4" elite level premium striker in Israel Adesanya. Now, does he have the capability to take Adesanya down? I don't even think so. Will he implement it? I don't even think so. I just don't. What have we seen from Sean Strickland that tells us he's going to go in there and wrestle somebody like Izzy? Are we going to pull up a fight from when he was at one? There's a reason why he doesn't do it at 185, and he might have kind of mixed it up a little bit more at 170 because he's fighting guys who are way bigger than him now. He's 6'1". He probably should still be fighting at 170. He's had the opportunity to fight these guys. He's lost every time. Every time you've put him in the contendership fight, he's lost. He got there, because they threw him a bone, because there was nobody else, because Dricus couldn't make it. Like, that's why he's getting this fight. And I just think it's the worst possible matchup for Sean Strickland is a guy like Ciryl Adesanya. And, you know, one thing that's interesting, the only reason that this has me going a little bit for Izzy is because Izzy now, for the second time that I've heard him talking about a fight, keep talking about submissions. Izzy said if Whitaker beats Dricus, I'm going to submit him. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to submit him because he's going to shoot. I'm going to submit him. And now I saw an interview with Izzy where he was like, I need a submission and I'm going to get one. Like, if Sean wants to take it to the ground, I'm going to submit him. He's been working with Craig Jones a lot. They've been working a lot on their grappling, a lot on the submissions. I don't think Izzy's going to want to get the fight there, but Izzy seems pretty confident in his abilities once the fight's on the ground. I don't think it's going to go there, guys. I think Sean Strickland's, you know, he's going to come out with both hands in front of his face like this, and he's going to try to march Izzy down, and he's going to catch something. Or if not, Izzy's just going to piece him up all day. Sean Strickland might be tough enough, you know, where maybe the pressure over the course can cause Izzy a little bit of problems, but that's as good as it's going to get. I think Izzy by TKO or KO is my pick on that one.
And a repeat caller, a repeat commenter. Sicko is on point about Strickland. You have to go with Adesanya by KO. And that's what a lot of people are going to do. That's why the odds are minus 660, because exactly what Sicko said, right? But the thing is, fighting is unpredictable. Okay. And if Sean, and I have a lot of respect for Sean's coaches, because I don't even really know if, they coach him, but they're not like really. They coach him, but they coach him. They're not coaching him, right? Because Sean's
they corral him.
His own thing. Yeah, they corral him, right? So like Eric Nixick is like one of his primary coaches, and I have a lot of respect for Eric Nixick. He's coached some great fighters throughout the years, and he has some great fighters as well right now. Sean Strickland being one of them. Sean Strickland, like you said, Sicko, if he goes in there with his little. What was that thing on the Living Color?
iCarly. Oh, no, I thought about the picture of iCarly. She's like,
no, he goes in there like in Living Color back in the day. There was I think it was called Handyman.
Oh, jeez.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then Sean Strickland goes in there with his handyman stance, right? And he walks into the range of every opponent that he's fought. Izzy's a technician, right? Like logically, you would think, Sean, you're not going to do the same game plan that you do with everybody else. You don't walk into the range of one of the greatest strikers that we've ever seen in the history of the sport, right? You're going to walk into the range of him in his backyard, and he's a counter fighter. No, we're not going to do that. We're scrap all that. Let's focus on pushing him against the fence. You know what I mean? And maybe trying to get to his back somehow. You know what I mean? Something. You know what I mean? Something different. Because did we see somebody take Israel's back one time, like at the end of a round? I don't know. Or did Izzy do that? Maybe Izzy pulled guard. I don't know. There was some.
Izzy got to the back of Vettori in that fight. Izzy got taken down and
right?
somehow was able to get to Vettori's back like at the end of
the round. That's what I'm saying. Izzy. That's one thing about Izzy too is funny. And it's just like, I don't know if it's luck or not, but whenever like someone tries to grapple with him, a lot of the times it's skill, there's skill to it, but a lot of times he just kind of get lucky in some of the positions that he lands in to where he could like pop back up real quick or like slide out.
He's just fast, lanky, right? He's so long and awkward.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to fight him
mimic
as well.
His like body style.
Definitely true.
For sure.
But like going back to Strickland, like you would think Strickland's gonna go in there and be like, all right, we're gonna change up everything because this is for the title, man. This is not like a number one contender fight. This is not you're not the king of the Apex anymore. Like this is a real fight. There's gonna be massive people in the crowd, and you're gonna go in there and do the exact same thing that made you get knocked out against the former champion. Against the current champion, like, come on, you got to be smarter than that, right? Like, you as an individual got to be smarter than that, right?
No,
you would think.
No, that's what we're doing. We're betting on Sean Strickland's intelligence. That's what we're betting on.
Common sense.
Nah, all respect to Mr. Strickland. Yeah, that's it. All respect to Mr. Strickland. Like, he beat my ass, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm not a world title holder, so good job. The thing is, like, dude, the guy is a living, breathing character. Like, he's committed. And I mean that in the borderline cycle sense. Yeah, he's committed. He's committed in his head. He's committed to this act. He's committed to this posture. He's committed. Sean Strickland is the number one buyer of Sean Strickland stock, and he's committed. He's full blown
Full investment.
Yeah, and I don't think he really gives a shit.
Full retard. He went full retard.
Full retard. Never go full retard. He went. He's gone, and he's been there.
Never go full Sean Strickland.
I just don't find him selling right now. I think he'll play this role. He'll go into this fight. He'll sell his name, his brand, his recognition. He'll get knocked the fuck out, and he'll pick up the microphone and say some inflammatory shit right afterwards. I really just think this is a big pump and dump. If you guys know, I'm throwing all kinds of stupid stock slogans out here, but that's what I feel like it is. This is a hey, everybody, pay attention to Sean Strickland, and then it's gonna get washed out with the tide. Good luck, Mr. Strickland. You're gonna need it.
Is this kind of like the scenario of like when TJ Dillashaw was just like running through the bantamweight division, and then they made him fight Chris Carriazo for the title? Do you remember this? Like, there was certain moments where a fighter was like in a dominant phase in their career where they were like, we need to have a headliner for a pay-per-view. We're going to Sydney. Like, there's only a few people that could headline pay-per-views from that area, right? And Volkanovski just did it, so he's not going to do it again. He's injured. So they get Izzy, right? And then Izzy flies in there. He makes a great deal behind doors, right? Closed doors, get more money because he's coming back quicker. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that goes into these things. And Izzy knew he held the power, because how are they going to hold it pay-per-view without him? Right? So you can just be like, yo, give me more money. But anyway, Sean Strickland, like J-Spec said, he's the biggest believer of his own stock. And that's great, because you need that confidence as a fighter. But him trying to promote this fight, he's failed. Like, I'm not interested. Like, he's not making it more interesting. Like, you saying that he's a Chinese champion, what does that do? It alienates you from Chinese people. It alienates you from, like, people that, take that seriously, right? Like,
Sean Strickland is not a worldwide artist. He's a niche underground artist. Like, that's what he is.
He is.
Yo.
He's like Smack DVD. He's Smack 100%. DVD level. He's like really good.
That's exactly what it's like when people say Sean Strickland's their favorite fighter. It's like when you ask people who's your favorite rapper, and they're like Jay-Z, Kanye. You got the one guy that's like, whoever that guy is, that underground dude. Throw out
Loaded Lux.
Loaded Lux is my favorite.
Loaded Lux. My son.
Where you just want to show people how deep into the game you are. Where it's like, who's your favorite fighter? Oh, John Jones, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya. And somebody's like, Sean Strickland's my favorite fighter. It's like, you just want to show people how deep you are into the game.
Let's not forget the show, right? John, you just said it. Let's not forget the show. Where is the show at? In Sydney. Who's the good guy? Adesanya. Who's the bad guy? Strickland. And does Strickland play a great bad guy? I mean, he's not like the most in your face, but he's the bad guy, right? He's the guy to hate. He's very hateable.
There is no bad guy.
Right.
There is no bad guy. There's like, Sean Strickland is trying to be the bad guy, but he's not the bad guy.
But he doesn't do bad guy stuff. He's not an actual bad guy.
That's what I mean. He's like anti-hero. So you got hero versus anti-hero, and it's not
working out. It's not drawing, and then the prices for the tickets are outrageous, because that's what the UFC is doing, right? They've been doing these big shows to like get people's little nappies wet, and then they go back with the lesser product, but the price is the same, or maybe even higher.
FOMO, baby, you can't miss it. You got to be here.
Exactly.
Don't worry about the price. You got to be here. The only thing I can imagine from Sean Strickland, like the best hope, if you're a Sean Strickland fan, the one thing that you're just putting all your stock into is that Izzy's got a lot of other shit going on. He's got his movie about to drop. He's been on tour for that. He's been doing a bunch of podcasts. He's been doing all these things. The only thing you can hope is that Izzy is looking to do something cool. He's looking at this as a showcase. He's looking at this as a fun thing to do. I'm a style on him. It's going to be easy. How do I want to put him out? How do I want to knock him out? Instead of, this guy's fucking scary. This guy's a problem. I have to train my ass off for this. That's the best hope, man, because Izzy does have a lot of shit going on right now. But the one thing about Izzy we know is he stays in the gym. Even with all the other things he's got going on, it's not like Izzy's missing any workouts. It's not like he's skipping gym days. He's still in there. He's still, trying to stay at the top of his game. But if you're a Sean Strickland fan, that's what you're hoping for. Like, let's just hope that Izzy has all these things coming up. Let's hope that he's taking a meeting a couple hours before the fight and then showing up and he has a elaborate entire walkout. And it's like, dude, this walkout took me a month to choreograph. Like, that's what you're hoping for. Because if you're hoping for Sean Strickland just to come out and show something that he's never shown before, good luck.
He's pulling that Deontay Wilder. You're putting out the built-in excuses, right? You built-in excuses. Imagine him like coming down like from the roof with like wings on, like on fire, like just straight into the octagon. Just
please, we need that,
right? And then Sean Strickland,
25-minute dance.
Sean Strickland is in the Howard Stern costume that he wore back in MTV days.
Perfect.
He parachutes in himself, as Fart Man or something. I don't know, something stupid. But yeah, man, this fight, it's drawing intrigue, but it's not drawing the amount of intrigue that most other Adesanya fights should draw. They were drawing, like other fights draw, right? Like, yes, the Cannonier fight, not much interest in that, right? But I think like when you look at interest level, this is probably like the level of like Marvin Vettori fighting.
Yeah,
Adesanya, right? Like it's kind of like that level of, right? Because Sean Strickland, he needs to get under the skin. But he's not.
Yes, and the bigger problem to it is, I think, just the lack of merit, right? Within the case of Vettori or some of these other guys, they're not only the promotion but the public were in agreement with. That's the guy that's next up to fight Izzy. That was the feeling. This time it's just, here's Izzy. Here's what you want. Here's Izzy. You love Izzy. Here's more Izzy.
Yeah.
And Strickland, here, take that. There's no like, oh, that's the guy. Like, that's the guy I want to see fight Izzy next because of merit. It doesn't even have a hint of that. So that all of Izzy's opponents so far had that in it, and that part is not in this.
Well, and then it's kind of a little unfair to Sean Strickland, right? Because we're just coming off of Izzy's biggest fight, the most hype fight he had, losing to Pereira, coming back to fight him the second time in the UFC. Like, that intrigue was like, dude, we finally found somebody that has proven he can put Izzy out. We found somebody that, dude, we don't know if Izzy could beat him, and then he beats him in the way that he did. Like, I don't think the level of engagement will ever reach that for Izzy. And then, to Izzy's credit, him and Dricus sold the hell out of that potential fight, and that's it's a subject line that people are uncomfortable talking about, and people are like, damn, this is real. Izzy's talking about dragging his carcass through Africa. Like, Drake is talking about, I'm the real African champ. Like, the intrigue was peak, man. It was like, yo, we can't see this. Even if people weren't giving Dricus a chance, even if Izzy would have been close to the same odds, it was bigger than the fight. With this one, it's like, it's a last minute barbecue we're throwing together. You know what I mean? Like, we expected the smoker and brisket, and we showing up to overcooked burger buns. You know what I mean? Like, all right,
cool. Mac and cheese with the hot dogs, cut it.
I'll eat it. You know what I mean? I'll still eat it. I'm still showing up.
Coleslaw with the mayonnaise.
I'll bring it, but I was expecting some real deal barbecue.
You can tell Rob bought all his sides from KFC and just brought them.
I'll bring a case of waters,
I
guess.
I think that they'll make the money that they need to make off the pay-per-view. Is just like, if you rank pay-per-views, this one I feel like could have been stacked a little bit stronger. Tai Tuivasa being the co-main event is going to be great. I think for Australia, this is like a pay-per-view made for Australia in a way. For Australia and New Zealand, it's perfect, right? Pay-per-view for them. Like, you got two guys in the main event, co-main event from the area. Them two, they would sell the tickets, right?
I think there's 5 or 6 dudes from City Kickboxing on there.
5 or 6 dudes from City Kickboxing, but it's the main stars that draw the ticket sales, right? So like, Tuivasa, Adesanya, like those guys, you know, Tyson Pedro, you know, I mean, a little bit more famous guys, they're going to be drawing a little bit more attention.
The greatest local show ever.
Yeah, but where does this go, right? So it's going to be an amazing show for the Australians. Good luck, Australians. Hope you guys enjoy it. But like you said, it's pay-per-view, John. I'm going to say it just for Team America right now. What the fuck does this card do for us? You want to charge us the $80 for this stupid fight? Like, I get it. Like, all the Australians are getting all their favorite people, and all the King's Horsemen and all the King's Men get to fight in front of your face. Like, terrific. But they're not the ones getting asked to throw $80 at ESPN. You know what I mean? And they John, you already know, bro. They could have done better.
That's a good gauge for Izzy's stardom, though, right? Like, let's say this still sells a decent amount of pay-per-view. That's a really good gauge for how big of a star Izzy is. He doesn't have the opponent. He doesn't have the storyline behind it. And this is at a weird time for Americans that are probably not going to buy this pay-per-view. If he still sells it, it's like, oh, shit, okay, Izzy really is that dude.
Good point.
All right. We'll get to this comment and we'll bounce out of here. Paulo Costa.
I like it. I'm mad at it.
Can't wait to see my boy Malarkey get back in the win column after losing in unfortunate circumstances last time out. I know Kiefer Crosby's fighting this weekend, but Malarkey's the real Irishman. Yeah, Malarkey, he'll be back in action in Sydney.
It's always fun.
It should be a good fight. Always fun. Always good time. Thank you guys so much for joining us live. Make sure you guys go in the descriptions, download the AllStar app, make your picks, and we will be back next week to recap UFC 293, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday night. If you're in other parts of the world, just type in Google 8 p.m. Eastern in whatever country you're in, and then you'll find out what time this show is on. But other than that, we will see you guys next week. Peace out and enjoy the week.